This is a continuation of the previous Zhan Zhuang videos that we've been working on, and the ones I'm talking about are Zhan Zhuang or Standing Challenge, and what we're doing is, as a group, we're starting to work our time up. So we've done 5 and 10 of standing so far, and reasonably you would expect that we're going up to 15 or 20 or something, but today, rather than that, what I'm going to try and do is, rather than performance, we turn this into a teaching session, and it should be shorter, because what we're going to do is go over what we should be doing when we're standing. It's not a question of just stand. A lot of it has to do with how you stand, and standing incorrectly is probably the most common thing for people that haven't been tutored in this manner. So we'll just start off, we'll go through some basics, and one of the first basics, of course, is that the body should be properly aligned. If you don't have alignment in the body, you can't have root or any of the basic attributes of either Qigong or Tai Chi. So alignment, one of the things that we try to always do is have the top of the head as if suspended from above and the back of the neck pulled upwards. So that opens a very important meridian point right here, and the two combined, what should happen is it results in a slight tucking of the chin. So when you get that, the chin will be down, your vision will be slightly down also. All you have to do is raise your eyes, and then you're fine. We have gotten, as a society, gotten so used to either this kind of very anxious pose or a collapsed pose that having our head and our eyes in the right position can feel strange in the beginning. So your vision should be roughly forward falling off. And this line that we've created here, we're going to continue that line all the way down through your spine, all the way down into this area. When we get to this area, there's a couple of interesting points. One is that right here, where your tail would be, should be as if pulled downward. Then along with this pull upwards, we get a really nice stretch and lengthening happening on the spine, and both of those are attributes that we want to cultivate. When we're standing, the entire body should eventually be stretching and getting bigger. So to do this correctly, you're going to have to learn how to bend your hip. And I say learn how to bend your hip. Most people say, well, I'll just bend my hip. I do it many times a day whenever I sit. In fact, even walking, of course, we have to bend our hip. But this is not the same. Imagining that you have support is a big help. If you actually did have support, you would do it correctly right off the bat. Because we don't have support, many people go wrong on this. And one of the most common is that the hip locks while the knees bend, and so now the entire body is actually falling off your knees, and you're putting the body weight on the knees instead of the hip. Hip joints are made to be weight-bearing, knees are not. So to build up the lower body, if you've got any kind of lower body joint issues, we don't want to abuse our joints. We want to make sure everything that we're doing is going to help heal them. So here's the basics. This area right here, called Kwa, K-U-A, has to be soft and bent. You can get this effect even with a very small bend. You don't have to be sitting down deeply at all to do this. Now, if you protrude to do this, you've broken the basic principle and attribute of alignment. So we can't have any leaning going on. In fact, the entire hip joint has to go straight down and sit on your foot. And not just any place on your foot, it's going to sit on your heels. So this is roughly a 50-50 weight stance. We're pretty even, and that's for further tutoring, not entirely even. And that's okay, that's the way it should be. But to begin with, just assume 50-50 weight. Both hips, both sides of your hips are bent and soft right in here, and we have a line coming down the back, going through the tail. This line splits about here and forms an upside down U, All of that should be as if pulled down. And then when you have the head being pulled up, you're going to be in a pretty aligned position. So a little bit more about this regarding Tai Chi and Qigong is that if your chest protrudes, and this is also very common for a lot of people, this not only breaks your alignment, but it disconnects your arms from the rest of your body with your chest sticking out in this manner. And for some people, this is default. They've gotten so used to holding their chest in this position that they have a very, very hard time in releasing the chest. When your chest is released, there should be an inward curve all the way across the chest and out into the other arm. This area in particular, where the chest and the shoulder meet, this should be quite recessed. Now, one of the things this is going to do is it'll help to open your back, and we do want to be on our back. When we're doing Qigong or Tai Chi, the torso flexes, just like everything in your body adjusts as we move, but the most common position in Tai Chi and Qigong is that the chest is slightly rounded in. Now that doesn't mean held in. We don't want any tension in what we're doing at all, no tightening. So what we do, we just sink the chest. Sinking the breath is really going to help you with this. If you're sticking your chest out, undoubtedly your breath is also up here. And that's completely wrong. If you want to cultivate Qi, the breath needs to be as low as possible in the body. So this is not directly Qigong, but it's quite related to Qigong, and we are both circulating and creating Qi, cultivating Qi. So breath here as long and soft as possible, which means calm your mind, calm your body. Don't move, don't get excited, try to calm your thoughts. And all of this, if you monitor your breath, you can be sure that the body will be calm, the mind will be calm. If you don't monitor your breath, then who knows, it could get out of control quite easily. So in this position, which is one of the most common positions to do Zhan Zhuang, there's a line created that goes down here, down the side of my body, and also from my shoulder blades, it goes down my back. So we talked briefly about an upside down U here. Well, from the line created on the back of your neck, when that gets into shoulder blade area, this is the neck. The shoulder blade area should also have an upside down U shape, and you can see it a bit in this kind of a posture. So this ensures my back is open and I'm getting good exercise for many different organs, many different parts of my body. Recently in one discussion, people were talking about organs directly affected by standing or by Qigong, and the usual direct your mind, and wherever your mind goes, your Qi will go. Answers were brought up, but that's very unspecific, and for a lot of people, they're like, how do I put my Qi in my hand? How do I put my Qi in my heart or in my dantian? Most people have no idea what that means. Do I just focus on that area? So instead of that, our approach is that physically we do these things, and gradually this builds up internal strength, and gradually it builds up Qi circulation. There's no guessing in the kind of things that we do. It's just physically you do a particular task and then build on it. Gradually your pump, your internal energy starts to build and get much stronger, along with stronger Qi development. So this lift that we talked about here, and this lift, this involves the entire head going up, so the side here, both sides of your neck should be stretching upward, and at the same time, if you're involved in release properly, the shoulder is going to be going way, way down, and the shoulder will be going, elbow will be going way down. If you're standing like this is what you're doing. You've got all kinds of extra tension up here that's unwanted and is not part of this. What should happen is the shoulder goes down, the elbow goes down, the hand points slightly upward. in that manner. So doing this and talking about specific organs, there is a particular meridian that runs through this area. It comes down through your body, and that meridian very strongly affects your liver. We also have a lot of triple burner work going on when we do this, but that partly depends on you syncing your breath. So the principle of release and sync is something that we cultivate very, very strongly. All parts of the body should be releasing down, so no tensing is allowed. The hands, the fingers go up, the top of the head goes up, and if you're sitting properly on your hip, you can see that this line from hip to knee, when I sit a little bit, that line goes upwards. Now, if I'm sitting incorrectly, that line goes downwards, and that's a reversal of correct alignment. So the third item we say goes up is knees. And really what that refers to is bend your hip, align your body, and sit down a little bit. So rooting the body, this is mostly a downward attribute, and that's how most people think of it, is downward. But rooting is actually two-way. We're always looking to create a stretch, and this, top of the head, back of the neck, this roots upwards, and it should be quite a strong pull. In fact, it's so strong that we say 10% of your body weight should be going upward. The energy on the hands is upward. This helps to balance your arms, and the knees, if you're sitting correctly, go up, and this is just for general alignment and rooting, downward rooting. So now sitting in this manner, expansion is also very important, and the most obvious place is if you imagine a ball in this area that's gradually expanding. The chest is going to have to sink slightly more, the arms should extend slightly more, and this area, a very important area to get chi flowing through, that area is going to open more. Now if I touch my back, if I have an indent here, not only is my alignment broken, but rather than the body expanding, I'm actually contracting here and expanding in the wrong place. So when I run my hand down my back, this should be completely flat. There's no indentation allowed on the back. Expansion through the chest is not expansion forward, it's that the whole area becomes larger while the chest is gradually sinking inwards. So that gets bigger. This is lengthening by going upwards. My hands are very slightly reaching forward. In this area, I'm compressing my hip down onto my foot, and that causes expansion all through this area. So a place of particular importance is this area can't collapse. And again, this is quite common, and this is abuse of your joints. This is not going to help your lower body. It's going to make matters worse. So when we bend here, we should imagine that there's a ball here between your knees. This adjusts the entirety of the legs. We imagine another ball higher up, and this is going to help you adjust your hips into the correct position. So even down through here, there's many different ways in which the body is expanding. So I did mention before that the weight should be on the heels. That's absolutely correct. Your foot should be expanding. You got to let go of the foot and the ankle both and let them open. We want the entire body open. If you decide you're going to tense one part of your body to see if you've actually released it, this is kind of working against yourself. When you're testing for release, you definitely want to focus on particular parts of the body and then know what release is required at that point. In the shoulder should be as if pulled down onto the hip. The hip should be as if pulled down onto your foot. Now, if you do that pulling, probably you're also going to tense. So we have to play a little trick. on ourselves, and we imagine that rather than I'm pulling my arm down, something external, a person or elastic or something, is pulling my arm down, pulling my hip down, and my job is to stay balanced while that happens. So we don't want to get this pressure stuck on this side of the body. That's going to cause misalignment and loss of balance. When this is pulled down, everything in your body has to adjust so that we stay perfectly balanced, perfectly rooted, perfectly aligned. Okay, this goes along with the first few items in the 10 guiding points of Tai Chi, or 10 important points, apparently written by Yang Fu. And one of the first ones, he says, is release the body. So Yang Fu should know what he's talking about. If he says release, that means don't tighten. And as I said before, if you can keep your breath here, probably a long, slow breath, that's going to mean that you're quite released. If you find your breath coming up, either take a break or refocus, go down again. Okay, so I hope that is helpful for you folks. One of the principles of the group that I work with, in the lineage that I'm working in, the movement of qi through the body is not really a mental thing. It does become that, but one of the first things that we have to do is get rid of physical blocks to the movement of qi. If you have a damaged shoulder, or you for some reason have gained the habit of misaligning, and that misalignment ripples through your body, you need to take care of these physical blocks. An arm held in a position like that is blocking the movement of blood and qi. So our approach is get rid of the physical impediments first, take control of your breath, learn how to align, learn how to release, and as far as qi circulation through the body goes, you're going to be doing very well if you can do that. And in the meantime, your focus, your concentration will have grown much, much stronger. So then we can move on to more advanced ideas. Now, the cultivation of qi. This is a more difficult thing, and really what it depends on is that the breath is sunk as low as possible. Most people say sink the breath to dantian. The dantian is roughly 2.5 inches or 3 fingers below your navel and about 2/3 of the way into the body. We can sink our breath lower than that, but that takes quite a bit of work, quite a bit of standing on a regular basis, not just once in a while, but on a regular basis. And when you say regular, that doesn't mean half an hour. Build up slowly. Start with 5, do 5 for a week or 2 or a month or whatever, and then do 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and you will find that your ability to align and release and breathe properly really increases quickly. So thanks for listening, and I hope that this will be helpful for anybody practicing Zhan Zhuang and wanting the benefits that come from doing that.